I would like to welcome you very, very warmly to the 7th edition of the European Day for Border Guards. We have a full day, which will begin with short addresses by our executive director. Then we will have debates. There are also exhibitions, and you have your programs in front of you. Right now, I would like to welcome Executive Director of Frontex, Fabrice Leggeri, to give the first address to all our guests.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. As Executive Director of Frontex, I'm very glad to welcome you in presence of Marko Gašperlin, freshly elected as Chairman of Frontex Management Board, and in presence of my deputy, Bernd Körner, and my predecessor, Ilkka Laitinen, and also in presence of my former deputy, Gil Arias, and of course, in presence of many representatives of the European Border Guard community. Today, we celebrate the 7th European Day for Border Guards. Hearing this name for the first time, people may ask, why was such a day created at all? In most, if not in all the member states, we celebrate National Border Guard and National Police Days, but we didn't have any European level celebrations in this field, even though we have intensive European level operational cooperation. Every day of the year, there are hundreds of guest officers working hand in hand with their colleagues from other countries to address border security challenges we are facing at the EU frontier altogether. This, so to say, very European border guardianship, togetherness and solidarity are at the heart of the European Day for Border Guard, an event brought to life in 2010 by my predecessor, Ilkka Laitinen, on the occasion of the 5th anniversary of the first Frontex Management Board session. Today, we honor all people in Europe involved in border management and all related activities. We honor, of course, Border Guard officers, but also Coast Guard officers, police and customs officers, migration officers, armed forces personnel, and civilian staff helping make the EU a safer place. Today, we also honor the memory of those who, whilst performing their sworn duty, have made the ultimate sacrifice by giving their lives in the service of others. On the sea, rescuing others, at the green border, in airports or in the office. We will always remember them. Dear members of the Border Guard community, this is your day to shine. You have chosen a profession that at the same time is a mission, a true calling. You are the guardians of public safety and security. I want you to be proud of your work. When you wear a uniform, you are on the front line for others. To witness horrific and often final moments of those who have taken the most dangerous way to escape war, or to simply look for a better life in Europe. You then have to console their relatives trying to come to terms with the senselessness of their loss. You are there at the borders to detect victims of trafficking and to bring them to a refuge and comfort, while the first instinct would be to go after the criminals exploiting their vulnerable people. You are there at the border to help the elderly find their way to the gate at the airport or in the harbor. Sometimes you have to risk your own life to protect others or to apprehend violators of the law. And yet, I know you react in all these demanding situations with the utmost professionalism, as this is what you have been called to do. This is what you have been entrusted by EU citizens. This is what I want you to remember every day when you wear your uniform back home, and of course, when you put on the EU Stars armband on a mission away from home and the Frontex umbrella. Serve your local communities and the EU with pride and with all the commitment to the law enforcement profession you have. For all the work you do and the commitment you show, I salute you, not only in my capacity of Frontex Executive Director, but also as an EU citizen. It is important for me to express here my pride for the other side of the border guarding work I had the honor to witness. The endurance, the perseverance, the dedication of men and women who, while allowing millions of bona fide travelers cross the European border without delay, are often not recognized for the very important and difficult job they do on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, since the previous European Day for Border Guard, we went through difficult times of crisis in regards to migration and asylum management. This crisis had actual consequences on the political situation in the European Union in general and Schengen system in particular. One of the greatest achievements of the EU community was exposed to the test. In order to bring the situation back under control, we all had to boost our creativity and harness all the resources to meet the challenges. If you allow me, I will share with you some thought on the scale of these challenges, seen from the perspective of Frontex, an agency that focuses on supporting the member states in their daily border management endeavor. When I took office in January 2015, Frontex was deploying simultaneously an average of 300-400 border guards. Now, as I'm speaking, the average number of simultaneously deployed officers is 1,500. Last year, within the framework of Frontex coordinated joint operations, officers managed to save over 150,000 lives. The number of persons that reached the EU in an irregular way exceeded 1 million, representing 1.8 million irregular border crossings. To process such a massive flow of people, we had to design new ways of receiving them at the border. Massive mixed migratory flows are not easy to manage. Once disembarked, people have to be taken care of medically. They have to be properly identified, registered, and security checked. Close cooperation with the so-called frontline member states and sister agencies such as Europol, EASO, Eurojust, Fundamental Rights Agency has proven the combined effort bring results. It was the same spirit of cooperation and solidarity that allowed Frontex to coordinate the establishment and further operational management of the EU Regional Task Force and hotspot proposed by the European Commission in Italy and Greece. Along with the migration and asylum management activities, Frontex had to strengthen its activities in the internal security domain. We reinforced cooperation with Europol when it comes to sharing personal data of suspected criminals and traffickers. We can transfer now personal data that feeds Europol's and Eurojust investigations. The estimations show that in 2015, organized crime groups earned more than 5 billion euros smuggling people to the EU. Fighting cross-border organized crime and re-emerging terror threats is only possible when cooperation with neighboring countries works well. Last year, the EU made a significant progress in tightening its cooperation with Turkey. Frontex is actively involved in the implementation of the EU-Turkey agreement. Our liaison officer, Frontex liaison officer, was timely installed in Ankara in April in order to upgrade the existing cooperation between Frontex and Turkey based on a memorandum of understanding. Otherwise, in the neighborhood of the EU, we can see unresolved issues in some of the North African and Middle East nation states. As power is no longer held by the state there, internal fighting intensifies while the international community reacts slowly in terms of bringing sustainable political solutions. Despite all efforts undertaken by the United Nations, we still don't have a counterpart to work with in Libya. There are not many positive signals when it comes to Syrian peace talks either. In this year's Frontex annual risk assessment, the future scenario team forecasted a stronger changing to global environment that would necessitate a proactive European foreign policy and a common European border management. This prognosis fits well with the legislative initiative of the European Commission that is to pave a way to an effective European integrated border management. As we speak, in the European Parliament, the LIBE Committee is preparing a vote on the new European Border and Coast Guard regulation. There is a very high probability that in a few months, the EU will have, to name just a few examples, firstly, a legally defined integrated border management model. Secondly, a system that can handle crisis prevention and intervention at the external border with large scale. Thirdly, a European Coast Guard function. And finally, a strengthened role of Frontex in return matters. Today, we will have an opportunity to discuss this and other elements of the legislative package during the next debates to take place here. Whatever the final shape of the regulation will be, we need to remember that the European Border and Coast Guard alone will not bring the solution for complex migration and security issues. The only way forward is close cooperation between all migration and law enforcement actors from all the member states and Schengen-associated countries. Europeans deserve to keep the free movement of people without checks at the EU internal borders. It is one of the objectives of the European Union, anchored in the EU treaties. We must accept the fact that there is one common and single external border. After a moment of political weakness, the European Union is back on track, on the way to establish a modern, integrated border management system, a system that serves bona fide travelers and preserves internal security. Once the new legal acts are adopted, the challenge of implementation will be in our hands. The agency, but also the member states' hands. Let's do it together in the spirit of trust, solidarity, and border guardianship. Before I pass the floor to the next speakers, I would like to introduce today's agenda. In a few minutes, we will have the main debate, National States, Common Borders, Future of Border Management in Europe. Then there will be a coffee break, and there will be an opportunity then to listen to 3 parallel debates starting at 11:45. There will be a lunch break at 1 o'clock, and at 2:30 you are invited back to the room to listen to the summary of discussions. And finally, at 7:30 tonight, we will have a barbecue and a number of activities you will be invited to join. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again for your commitment. Many of you have participated in Frontex operations. I hope this was a good experience for you and that you will also disseminate the good practice and the good spirit of Frontex operation. I thank you for your attention. I wish you to enjoy European Day for Border Guard 2016. And now, Marko, I have the pleasure to invite you to say some words as a freshly elected chair of Frontex Management Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabrice. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear guests. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you at this event. I'm really glad that despite some doubts about the rationality of organizing such gathering, we managed to continue with the tradition. I am fully convinced of the importance of such meeting. As already said, behind us is a very demanding year. It is enough to mention only one figure. Number of migrants at our external borders exceeded 1 million. We are in the middle of the adoption process of the new regulation, which will significantly reshape our agency. And such moment is of the highest importance to discuss challenges and possible solutions also in the border guard community. Not less important is this event as an unique opportunity to meet with the colleagues and friends and in less formal environment, to spend a day or 2 days together and to strengthen the feeling of the European border guard community. Like all by Frontex coordinated joint operations and project is also today's event excellent demonstration of awareness of the shared responsibility for the situation at our common borders and for our securities. We are already now practicing what our political masters still have to agree. In this sense, I would like to wish you all fruitful and pleasant day. Thank you.